Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is a topic of how would an ideal world look like. So for this video, I'm going to explain in a simple and straightforward way how an actual proper better world would look like versus this utopic, you know, slash utopic crap you hear all the time in a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand it. So if you're just curious to know how a better world will look like, just out of curiosity, then definitely watching this video will be a very good thing, as you will get the answer to that question, okay? In a way that actually is not, kind of crazy, okay? So now that I've mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of how would a better world be like, for the first of the four main points is, simply put it, people would actually be happy, okay? Now, of course, this might sound very trivial, like what the hell does that mean? But the simple truth of the matter is that what it means in this context, simply put it, is that people would be happy, but actually happy for that matter in a way that actually makes sense, okay? In other words, to sum up what my point is, we would actually start teaching people how to actually become happy, okay? Or find some technology or something that people can actually become happy, or whatever for that matter, okay? Regardless of the matter, people would actually be happy, okay? Which, even though happiness, specifically due to the media and a lot of stupid people, comes off as something kind of at times corny and even silly and trivial and nothing that important, it's actually very important, okay? Because happiness, out of everything, is the main reason why we live in this world, okay? Compared to anything else in the world, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, even though happiness, of course, you have to be very specific because it relates to different individuals, overall, fundamentally, is the main motive for it, because it gives us a purpose to live, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, you can have the best food, the best beverages, the best amount of everything in the world, and if you're not happy, what's the point of it, okay? Because emotionally, the feeling of happiness is extremely important, because it actually makes people enjoy the experience, So as a result of that, people actually are more motivated, because this is the thing people tend not to understand about happiness, okay? Especially people who are more on the intellectual side, okay? Is that happiness is like eating good quality food that's enjoyable, okay? Or in other words, from a natural perspective, food, okay? It's supposed to serve as a reward system, okay? Something that motivates people to actually want to do something, okay? So even though it might come off as trivial to people, it's actually very, very, very important for society, okay? Because the truth of the matter is that it encourages people to want to actually do something with their lives, okay? And a lot of that stuff that makes them do something, of course, relates to work, which, of course, through work, it creates productivity, and as a result, it benefits people because they're actually doing something with their lives. And that is the honest truth of the matter when it comes to happiness. It actually is very important, okay? And even more so than that, okay, it offers the ability for people to actually have a purpose for life. Because what's the point of life if you can experience everything imaginable and beyond to the best degree of quality, but you're still not happy, okay? And that's the truth of the matter. And what I mean by happiness, it's not just, of course, the topic of figuring out a way people can become actually happier, but the truth of the matter is, it relates to, of course, a topic of, like, they're actually happy when they actually succeed and they get the things they want. Like, whether it could be maybe they actually win a tournament or something, they feel as happy, or if not better than they imagine they would feel, when they are doing well in life, and there's no problems, they actually feel happy, or as they expect to feel, or maybe when they get money, they feel as happy as they expect to feel, whatever. The point is, they actually, to sum it up, when people get the good things to happen to them in life, in other words, positive things happen to them, they actually feel as great as they expect to feel, if not greater. Okay, so to sum it up, that is one of the biggest things. Okay, how ideal world would be like. Okay, when people actually succeed and do well in life, they actually feel as great as they would expect to feel. And that is my first point. Okay, the second point of how an ideal world would actually be like is that the political system would be improved. Okay, in other words, to be more specific, the political system could not take things that matter to people and politicize it. Okay, because the truth of the matter is, even though we have different political views on different things, you know, let alone human beings in general are different. Overall, some people want the world to be this way, some people want the world to be that way. There is something known as fundamental rules of how a world should be run. Okay, whether it comes down to things like self-defense, taking care of the environment, how a nation economically should be run, there's certain fundamental principles when it comes to determining how a society should work. Okay, and what I feel, and not even what I feel, the truth is the political system politicizes things and creates a situation where it's like, if you want to have these rights, you have to pick our side or this other side, you know, which is stupid, because it's a case of no matter what I gain, I lose something. You know, no matter who I vote for, you know, I'm still gonna lose something in some way, which is so stupid, to be quite honest with you. Okay, and that's my second point. Okay, so in other words, if you don't get the point, there are certain rules that should not be politicized. In other words, these are rules that are guaranteed, and none of the two political sides can take it away from you whatsoever. Okay, whether it comes to gun rights, like the ability to defend yourself, no side can ever make it illegal to own a firearm, or it could secondly be no side is able to, of course, be able to negatively affect the environment in this particular way, or thirdly, and there's other examples, other main examples too, but thirdly, another good example could be, you know, there's no side that of course could change the economic system, because America is a capitalist society and capitalism works. Communism / socialism doesn't, and it will never work, and that's the honest truth here. So in short, the political system is improved to the sense that they cannot screw up certain fundamental liberties people have, so we have the issues we have today politically. And that is my second point. Okay, now the third point is that there's basic stability in the world. Okay, now even though the world's still going to have drama like crime, war, natural disasters, yada 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 yada, you know, the same 9 yards, you know, you're used to, the truth of the matter is there is a system that is set in place to prevent things from getting over the top bad. Okay, so like for example, if there might be a problem going on in the world, no matter how bad it is in your country, you're at least promised certain basic freedoms, or in other words, liberties. Okay, you have access to the internet, you have access to at least relatively decent food and beverages, and the ability to travel, like if you want to immigrate or something, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's at least basic liberties that are guaranteed to you. So no matter how bad things get, which is always going to be problems in the world, you know, for that matter, at least you have the ability to at least say, I at least was able to experience this, so I at least had some good memories. And that is the honest truth of the matter. Okay, because the world is always going to be problematic no matter how we look at it. Okay, if we make it too perfect, you know, in other words, which I've talked about in other videos, where there's literally no problems in the world because literally the whole world is developed, so every country in the world is rich, it's developed like America, then people are going to complain that it's boring and nothing happens anymore, and they're bored and they wish something would happen. Okay, while on the other hand, if the world is like, you know, where it's like how it is now, you know, in honesty, where there's a lot of problems and issues, people complain that there's too many problems in the world and things suck. So the truth is, no matter how you look at it, people are never going to be truly happy, you know, or I should say truly satisfied in that regard when it comes to the world. There's always going to be, something that sucks. To be even more specific, people are never going to be truly satisfied with how the world is like. Okay. So in short, the best answer to give is that we can't make the world a perfect place. Okay. Um, you know, but at least we can make at least decent. Okay. So it doesn't completely suck. Because there's no perfect answer to that question, believe it or not. Okay, so that's my third point. And my last point is we start colonizing outer space. Now, whether you're interested in outer space or not, that's obviously up to you. That's your personal choice. That is something I cannot force on you. And there's nothing wrong with not being interested in outer space. People are different. Yeah, the whole 9 yards. But whether you're interested or not, let's keep it real. We need to start colonizing outer space. We are running out of resources. We have poorly maintained the resource of this planet due to the greedy businessmen. And if we colonize outer space, it'll help improve our planet, because we'll have more resources coming from outer space so we can make life on Earth a lot better for ourselves. Okay, so we don't have as much problems, and maybe even as a result have less wars and a lot of other issues because there is more resources to go around. And that is the truth. So those are my 4 points on how an ideal world would look like, or at least giving you a better idea of how an ideal world would look like. And that's all to say, and some people I'm out. So bye.